Okay, we're going to go ahead and cover Chapter 5. Chapter 5 covers Management Information Systems Infrastructure. Make sure that you understand what MIS is. When it comes to the infrastructure, that includes everything from hardware, software, network, client, and server. The hardware is all that physical equipment, the hard stuff like the actual computers, the laptops, the cell phones, the portable devices. The software is everything that you use on those devices to make your company work. So when you log into your employer's portal, in order for you to access your employee information and be able to do your job, that's software. When you log into the MDC portal, that allows you to be able to do your schoolwork, which allows you to be able to get an education. That's also software. The network itself is how everything is interconnected, allowing us to be able to get online. As far as the client is information that's housed in a data server or a data warehouse. A client allows for the end user like myself to be able to type in some information and be able to get information about the company that I need to share with my client that I have sitting across from me. The server itself is also part of that data warehouse or that data store that we're accessing, which allows for the information that is stored on that server to be shared with the end user when required. So, benefits of having a solid MIS infrastructure include the ability to support operations, to make change quickly and efficiently, and being extremely flexible. That's why they say agile. And also being able to have a sustainable environment where you're not using too many resources to harm the environment, but you're being eco-friendly. So you're using power only when necessary to do a query or a search. And then when it's not necessary, the system goes idle. So that's one sustainability effort. As far as supporting the operations for MIS, all companies have to make sure that they're able to have some type of backup and recovery, disaster processes in place, and as well as be able to have their business run 24/7, regardless if a disaster happens or not. So as far as backup recovery plans are concerned, a backup is basically having a copy of whatever your system is running somewhere else so that if one system goes down, the other one can immediately boot up and start running so that your company doesn't lose money and your employees are able to continue to do their jobs. As far as recovery, companies have to make sure that they're always able to make sure that their IT systems have some type of fail-safe in place so that if the systems crash in Chicago, they can immediately boot back up in New York and allowing for business to continue. The time zones may be different, but business still can continue and money, or at least large amounts of money, aren't lost. As far as the disaster recovery plan, every company should have a very detailed process of what they are going to do when something happens. Because there's always a cost involved with that. And here you see the cost curve, which one would be charts the cost to the organization, and two would be how much is that going to cost them to recover that material. But if you have a recovery plan into place, you're able to decide what type of backup site you may need and what you need stored there. So a hot site, it would be something like a data warehouse where the company is located here in Miami, downtown Miami area. However, they have their data warehouse with all the information stored for their business worldwide in Boise, Idaho, allowing for them to be able to still run their business and serve customers and make money even if a hurricane hit Miami and knocked out all telecommunication systems and destroyed the building, making their ability to operate at that site in Miami impossible. However, the data is still saved and stored in a facility in Boise, Idaho. That's a hot site. As far as a cold site is concerned, if the same hurricane hit Miami downtown and destroyed the building, and or not destroyed the building but just knocked out telecommunications, and when I say telecommunications, you do not have the ability to use cell phones, you do not have the ability to use a computer, you do not have the ability to use the internet because there's no broadband, there's no electricity, there's no ability to use these type of things that we use on a daily basis. If that happened and they have a cold site located in Boca, and the hurricane didn't hit Boca, at least not in that type of way, and Boca still has complete power and still running efficiently, the building and the site and the offices that they have in Boca are running. Their employees from Miami can go to Boca, go to work there in a new space, and still be able to run the business efficiently without the company have to lose money. That's a cold site. A warm site is a separate facility with computer equipment that requires installation and configuration. This means that the company may not be a large corporation, may not have the type of money or staff to be able to invest in a recovery site and be able to have those type of resources, but at the same time they know that they still need to have some form of backup. Then they have the ability to be able to get their data back because maybe they have it in the cloud and they have it in the cloud using Amazon Web Services. So Amazon Web Services has their data stored in facilities worldwide in different regions. So since they're using this third-party provider in order to store their data, they're able to go to another facility, hook up their servers, hook up their computers, hook up their network, and be able to tap into that third-party provider of Amazon Web Services and be able to run their business again. Netflix uses Amazon Web Services to be able to stream movies to millions of households worldwide. So, business continuity plan, which you can call a BCP, is a plan for an organization. How will they recover and restore their information? What are they going to do? What are they going to do in a disaster? Who needs to be there? Who are essential employees? Who has to be available during a disaster to make sure that the company doesn't lose money and can continue to run? In that type of situation, the companies companies always have someone that's responsible for their emergency preparedness. So they have to make sure that they understand what's the disaster recovery plan, what kind of technology resources are needed, do we have the strategies in place to be able to get back online, who do we notify in an emergency, what employees aren't essential and can stay home, and how will this impact our business? Will we lose any money? Will we lose a couple thousand? Will we lose millions? If so, how will that impact our bottom line? Business, as always, as you know, are always thinking about the bottom line. So when you're talking about the AGILE MIS infrastructure, the characteristics that come to mind are accessibility, availability, maintainability, portability, reliability, scalability, and usability. So basically these are the abilities, right? Accessibility. That simply refers to varying levels that define what a user can access and when and how. Web accessibility, who can go online and be able to pull up things when needed. And also can talk about who will have administrator access during a disaster and that whole recovery process. Availability are the time frames when the system is operational. For all companies, there's a downtime. Sometimes the downtime can be in what can be considered a dead hour between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. Sometime a downtime is on Sundays at 10 p.m. to midnight. If they just companies try to have their downtime in during times where they have the least amount of traffic so that they lose the least amount of money. And these downtimes typically are just to make sure that processes are running well, if the software is updated, and everything is running smoothly. As far as maintainability, how quickly can a system transform to support the environmental changes? What do organizations have to watch for? What do they have to be privy to? What do they have to make sure that they are being cautious of and try to avoid? Because, some disasters aren't natural disasters. Some disasters are man-made. You have an employee who is extremely upset when they leave and they were your systems administrator. They go in and plant a virus and knock out your entire sales force for one division of your company. How do you bring that back up? How do you get that virus out? How do you make sure that you're able to still make a profit? So that maintainability is important, and the staff in place are important. Portability, can you use the system on different devices? Are you just locked in being able to use the system on your computer at work, during work hours? Most companies that do that, where you can only use the system, their intranet, that's the internal system for a particular company during work hours, they aren't that profitable because people cannot work at times that are conducive to them. Reliability. Excuse me, I said that completely wrong. Apologize. Reliability ensures the system is functioning correctly and properly, of course. Scalability, you want to make sure that your system can support large amounts of users or small amount of users. You want to make sure your systems can handle a large amount of cells or a small amount of cells, that your system doesn't crash if 50,000 people come to your site at one time, but your system allows for all those people to make purchases. If your system crashes, you make no money because no one can make purchases. So these type of things are important all the time. Usability, it has to be easy to use, easy to learn, easy in the sense that it doesn't take you a long amount of time to be able to train employees in order to become proficient on the software or the system. Moore's Law is extremely important because Gordon Moore was the co-founder of Intel. He came up with this concept that technology will continue to double every single year. However, well, he said every 18 months. But however, technology has surpassed what he initially said, and technology multiplies monthly now. As a matter of fact, some technology keeps advancing daily, but it's referred to as Moore's Law because it's how quickly the Intel chip that had been installed in all computers, and it still is installed in computers, is able to process information. Sustainability for the environment. That's really big now. I mentioned that earlier, to be able to make sure we're not using up too many resources. So supporting the environment for sustainability, there are 3 components to that. There's grid computing, virtualized computing, and cloud computing. So when we talk about grid computing, we're talking about a collection of computers that are geographically placed, that are working together, coordinating together to solve a problem. Virtualization, when you guys are in the computer lab, all the machines in the computer lab, and when I say machines, I mean all the computers, have a virtualized environment on it, meaning there's an image. You all aren't using a standalone computer. You're using an image of a computer that sits on a virtualized machine and a server that backs it up. So everything you technically do on those computers not only can be tracked, but we can go back and see every keystroke, every website, everything that was inputted into the computers. Typically, organizations have all their computers virtualized, so you have mirror images, and you're able to give everyone the same view. So everyone has that same home screen that has the same standard applications like Microsoft Office. However, What you don't know on the back end is that software administrator can go in and be able to see everything that happened later on, and or be able to go in and change those images to update the software. So go from Microsoft 2013 operating system to Microsoft 2016, not operating system, but Microsoft Office as the platform, application platform. Cloud computing, you all heard of cloud computing because you hear about it all the time when you're going to save your information on your phones. They always say it's going to the cloud, it's going to the cloud. That's a nice little marketing term that people started using to make data sound sexy and data sound, mysterious. Cloud is nothing but data. It's the way that your data is stored within a data warehouse somewhere, somehow. You always have the ability to be able to access that data. For some of the applications that use cloud, they require you to pay for it. When you're paying for it, technically you're buying a license to be able to use their software, to be able to store your information in their data warehouses. As you can see, for cloud computing allows for on-demand self-service. You use it when you want. Broadband network access, which means you can use it on any type of device as long as there's some sort of wireless or even an old school Ethernet connection. Multi-tenacity, allowing for sharing of information, allowing for information to be pulled together, and that's just sharing is the same thing. Rapid elasticity, and that's just allowing you to get information quickly when you need it, how you need it, where you need it, and that's the beauty of the cloud. And it also measures the service of what's happening. When we talk about cloud computing, especially when you're talking about it at the corporate level, you can see that cloud computing can be broken up in different categories. You have infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service. So when we talk about infrastructure as a service, it's often referred to as IaaS, which is capital I, little a, capital S. It's a service that delivers hardware networking capabilities, including the use of servers, networking, and storage over the cloud using a pay-per-use revenue model. So the best way for me to describe this is Netflix, because Netflix allows for any of us to be able to pay for the service. We pay for a monthly subscription to be able to stream our movies to our TVs wherever we are. We can only stream if we have internet access, and we can only do this because Netflix has a partnership with Amazon Web Service, which allows for extreme scalability, for them to have 10 users to 10 million users at one time being able to stream movies from their particular catalog of movies. And that's just because Amazon Web Services is a cloud-based offering that's part of the overall Amazon umbrella. And there you see it has under infrastructure as a service, it says Amazon EC2. That's part of AWS, Amazon Web Services. Software as a service. When we think of software as a service, we can think pay-per-use basis. So people who are trying to sell a product to other people, they use something like Salesforce. A lot of you work, so you are in institutions or organizations that use something like PeopleSoft, some kind of customer relationship management system that is allowing you to be able to do your job. Another software as a service, quite frankly, could be a dating site. You pay to get on a dating site to find someone. You're paying for a service, essentially, and that's being run on the back end. That's software as a service. Platform as a service offers hardware, networking, and this is also a pay-per-use services. All of them truly are, but it's what type of services that they're offering. Here they're telling you that Google Application Engine is one of those platforms as a service. I'm taking a blank right now, so I can't think of another example of a platform as a service. But if I think of it as I go along in this lecture, I'll let you know. But these three types are important because they are all part of what is considered cloud computing. Okay, so we're done. I know that was a pretty long lecture, but there's just so much information with that, and these next few chapters are all like that. Please make sure that you complete your homework for Chapter 5. Make sure that you do your midterm. Your midterm is open for exactly 10 days. There's no excuse not to do the midterm. The midterm will shut down and shut off and be unavailable at 11:59 p.m. on April 16th. Please do not wait till the last minute to complete your midterm. Continue working on your group project, and I will see you guys in class.